So welcome to Before the Build. My name is Jake Fabish, and this morning I get the opportunity to sit down with Nicole, who owns and operates Blend Design here in Louisville, Kentucky. I absolutely love Nicole's passion for the outdoors and design, as well as her commitment to harnessing the natural elements of nature to create really special and inviting spaces for hosting, entertaining, and just being. Nicole, thanks so much for coming on. Super excited about this conversation. Before we dive in, I always like to start by asking, what is one unique or specific problem that you're solving this week?
Like I said, as designers, that's our job, is solving problems. So
always problems.
Always problems. Well, I'll go with my most favorite problem that I have going on. I recently joined a platform called Tald.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm really excited about that. And ended up getting a remote client in Connecticut. And she originally just wanted me to come on and just help her with furniture, like the exterior styling. Like that's sort of what I'm kind of pivoting into. And so I was so excited. And we had a phone conversation and she started talking to me about my background. And she was like, "Oh, you do landscape design?" I'm like, "Yes, but I'm trying to pivot into more of spatial flow, exterior styling and things like that." And she's like, "Well," she was like, "we're putting in a pool. I don't like all the hardscaping. It's too cold. It feels sterile. I don't like any of their designs. Can you help me?"
Okay.
And in my mind, I'm like, I've never done a remote landscape design project. So I was like, I can do this. I can figure this out.
Yeah.
So what started as furniture design, now I had completely helped her with all the hardscaping material.
Okay.
And the problem is whenever you are designing remote, you have to use a lot of your imagination.
Right.
Designers were good at visualizing, right?
Yeah.
But when you're thousands of miles away and you're just getting video and it's, these people, it's their home. And you want to design a space that feels calm and, it's what they want, what makes them feel comfortable.
Right.
And without seeing it in person, I really have to just use my imagination and walk myself through each space, what they might be seeing, things that I do while I'm on site.
Right.
But this is a little different.
Yeah.
So it's been a really fun challenge for me.
Yeah.
It's the first one and I'm absolutely loving it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm I hate Zoom so much because I'm I feel so disconnected from you.
Exactly.
So how are you overcoming that?
Just by close my eyes and I walk through the space. And when I design, I like to keep different principles and elements in mind. I sway more toward the biophilic design, which is the love of life. Biophilia is the love of life, living things. And it's not just about adding green.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's about making the space feel calm. And they have an existing bluestone. It's beautiful. It's bluestone, hardscaping. And then they have a pool that is going to be installed that is going to be porcelain. And it just feels so cold. There's so much of the stone. And when you're thinking about feng shui, there's different elements, right? The water, earth, metal, fire, and wood. And so you're kind of taking all that into consideration when you're designing. And when you look at a space, most people can walk in and say, it feels off, but they can't articulate why.
Yeah.
And so designers kind of give you that voice where they're like, this is why it feels cold. This is why it feels off.
Yeah.
We're going to so instead of doing the transition space from the existing hardscape to the pool, the original plan that she had gotten from someone there had all hardscaping over the entire liminal space, the transition space.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. So
a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So we're just doing bluestone steppers in a square pattern and going that transition. That way we can add more of the wood elements, the plants and things like that. We're adding grasses. to soften it for texture.
Yeah.
And some hydrangeas and things like that just like a lot of things that have movement, not just boxwoods that are, even boxwoods to me feel a little stale, like very cold and just structured.
Yeah.
I like things that are a little quirky.
Yeah.
They like give a little movement. They're, as the stone is just, it's static.
Yeah.
And you want something that's dynamic too.
Yeah.
So as you're walking, we have different perennials, different grasses, things that kind of have movement and texture.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's how getting back to your whole question, just visualizing.
Yeah.
And just trying to connect to that human experience, something that invokes an emotional response.
Yeah.
Figuring out how it needs to be balanced. I like texture and touching. So Zoom, all the videos and photos, like I'm not a computer person.
Yeah.
My background is in art and design. I like to doodle. I like to draw.
Yeah.
Like I like things I can touch.
Yeah.
Very tactile. And so it's been a challenge, but a fun one for me.
Yeah. I feel like when clients have come to us with like drawings, even if they're unhappy with it, I feel like one of two ways it'll go, where either it'll sort of be helpful because they've kind of brought it to a certain place and they just don't know where to go from here. In other ways, it can be like kind of more of a battle because you have to kind of start over and re-educate them because they can't figure out why they don't like it, but they know they don't like it, and they don't, getting them to understand that in order to get it to where they want it to be, we're going to have to deconstruct it and then reconstruct it.
Yeah.
Do you feel like this experience is part of that, either one of those flavors?
Yeah, as far as, you mean like when you're putting it together, they can't quite articulate?
Yeah, or just like, do you feel like it's more of a struggle or less of a struggle that she had already had some design input?
I feel like it's less because I like designing under constraints. So like if we have consultations and they give us, they're like, we need a design in an hour.
Yeah.
Like, I love it. It's almost like school. It's like, oh, okay, it's on.
An assignment.
Like, I can do it. I can do this.
Yeah.
So I like having constraints. And she already had this plan and knew that she didn't like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, why? And she's like, well, it just feels like a lot.
Yeah.
And then I get the opportunity to interpret that. And the way that I see it, I'm constantly looking, like I said, for balance. And so I'm like, I imagine this is why you think it feels heavy. And then we sort of deconstruct it. I'm like, this is the piece that I believe is the heaviest. We're going to take this out. And then even with the pool deck, we have 3 sides. So there's a hot tub. One side is just coping. And that way we're just shrinking our hardscaping footprint. So it's just trying to like figure out, when they say it feels off. And I like starting from what doesn't work. Most people know what they don't like rather than what they do like.
Right.
Because you don't know until you've seen it. And that's what designers, like we try and think outside the box and come up with new ideas. And so, like I said, most people, when you're talking to them, are like, what don't you like?
Yeah.
And then we can delete that. And then that gives us an opportunity to put something cool in there to figure out. And then with my designs, I use half CAD, half hand-drawn.
Okay.
So I think that gives almost the same effect as what I'm trying to do with the whole project itself.
Yeah.
But then also it translates well into the design because most of the CAD work is the hardscaping. And then I go in and I kind of loosely draw in plant material just to give it kind of that balance. And most people are like, oh, okay. Like they can feel it almost.
Yeah.
And that's been something I really like. Sometimes I feel like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Because I'm still like hand drawing stuff. But I think that invokes that emotional response. People see it as cold and warm. And they see kind of the static and dynamic. And I think that's kind of how it translates.
Yeah. What's your process to getting people to that aha moment of they recognize that there's something missing? Do you have like certain steps that you follow and be like, hey, here's, we're going to do this, then this, then this. And along the way, you've learned that about here in the journey, they're like, oh, well, that's it? Or is it more organic where you're just continually kind of throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks and kind of wait till they have a reaction?
Usually it's a conversation, the initial consultation. You're really trying to just pull everything out. It depends on where you're starting from. With the client that I was talking about, we had a starting point where she's like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
But if you're starting from scratch, that initial consultation is everything.
Right.
You're trying to pull out as much as you can and just getting to know your client. Like, it's a human experience, you know? That's one of the best parts about, you know, this industry. You're meeting so many different people and kind of seeing their lifestyles. So you're asking, do you have kids? What do you imagine using this space for? Do you like to entertain? Because sometimes they're like, oh, I want all this entertainment stuff. I'm like, do you entertain? They're like, no, I'm a hermit. And I'm like, okay. So we don't need, you know, a seating for 20. It's more like 2.
We could get by with less.
Yeah. So just really kind of getting to know them, their lifestyle, what they envision, and who they are as a person. And then I go and just kind of imagine the space as if I'm them walking through, kind of seeing like the flow of each area, how they would use it, how we're styling it for furniture, how, you know, one area transitions to another, if it's organic. I recently had this client. I love them. It's a couple. She, like, they couldn't be more opposite.
Okay.
Husband and wife. He likes cold, concrete, sterile, no plants. And she's just like, you know, home and garden, master gardener. And I was just like, they wanted an outdoor living, a pool, a fireplace, a grill area. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
Like, their Venn diagram is like super small. So we had to figure out where it overlapped.
Just like, how'd you guys get married?
So that was another one where you're just trying to get their lifestyle and how you can bring kind of how they would experience life out there into reality. So, you know, I come up with a couple of different like conceptual designs, the ideation phase, more of just overall feel. We do a design presentation that has like mood boards, plants, a lot of Pinterest pulling, you know. And so then I present that to them. Usually it's on site. That way they can kind of orient themselves. And they're like, ooh, this feels this way, or, you know, like they're kind of thinking about it. And so that's your way to kind of like pull out some more details, kind of narrow down. Kind of what they're looking for. So usually by the rough draft, when I present it, we're in a good spot. And that's another on-site where we go in with a red marker. We're on-site, we're walking through everything and just kind of getting an idea of what works, what doesn't. And they get to circle like, this doesn't work. And then it's like, okay, why? And if they're like, I don't know. Like, you know, then you know, as a designer, like you are just, you know, you always have different options. It's kind of like a puzzle. You know, and it's just sort of like plugging and seeing what works for them. So usually by the rough draft, we're in a good spot, and then we can kind of just finalize everything from there. Are you far enough in that design yet that they've had their kind of aha where all the pieces have fallen into place? Usually by the rough draft. I don't like to do, I mean, I don't mind to do revisions, but I like to pull out as much information and do all the legwork at the beginning. All the questions. I'm like, spam me with your inspiration, text me, like nothing's off limits. And that way, like, there's just constantly an open dialogue, and they feel like, oh, okay, like they are starting to see the vision based on the conceptual design, then the rough draft. And usually it's the rough draft walking on site is where, you know, they have their design presentation with all the plant material. They have inspiration photos. We've got material selections somewhat narrowed out. And as we're walking through the space, they're imagining themselves like kind of living in there. And that's usually like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this works.
Yeah. With that couple particularly, was there a moment where they saw that they could both get what they wanted?
Yes,
Yeah.
it was great.
Really?
There was an existing covered deck, and he wanted concrete everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, no,
No.
no, we're going to compromise.
Yeah.
So we did where the grill area is, we did square concrete pieces in a grid. And then we did this like creeping Jenny, like little steppables in between.
Okay.
So it softened the concrete. It was plans for the wife, concrete for the husband.
Right,
he has his grill area. And then where we had a custom fireplace built, and that whole area was brass-filled fines.
Okay.
With plant material.
Yeah.
So it wasn't concrete, but it was an aggregate. Brass-filled fines is like a crushed limestone. Anyone who knows me knows I love it so much.
Yes.
I have it at my house. I put it everywhere.
Yeah.
Because it's just a way to soften a space. And I love any sort of natural material.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's one of those that I just love. Sometimes I plant in it. Sometimes they're used for walkways, driveways, even.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's something that I use often.
Yeah.
So we were able to. So we had the fireplace and then a couch, and we were able to plant in the brass-filled fines all the plant material around it. So it kind of looked a little loose and organic, but then still had. It wasn't concrete. Yeah. But it wasn't mulch or anything like that. Right. Like they both were like, oh, okay, we get it.
We can make this work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think my favorite spot, it doesn't happen every time, but I feel like more often than not with good design, you come to this spot where all of a sudden they're like, whoa, that's it. Yeah. Like we both, especially when there's a couple that's unique in their interest, I think it's even more powerful because there's a moment where they're both like, oh, wait, like I could be happy and you could be happy. Yes. And this could be better than what we thought.
Exactly. Yeah. So we just wrapped that project up.
Okay.
And she gave us like a million hugs and was like, this is perfect.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm excited about that one. And I think it's more like I love the design. Yeah. But I feel proud of myself where I was like, I did a good job. Like everybody won. Everyone's happy.
No small feat in some situations.
Yeah, because when I first met them, it was just a battle. Yeah. And I was like, oh no.
It's not going to be good.
What am I going to do? Yeah. You have that moment of like, okay, I hope I can make everyone happy. And you're just like, as they're like bickering back and forth, you're like, oh, no. Like, who am I gonna disappoint the least?
Yeah. But how cool is that when you're able to kind of listen well enough that you can understand them well enough to then take what you know and apply it to what they need and provide them with something that's like they wouldn't like they get to experience it every day now. Yeah. And it's not an experience they probably would have gotten any other way. Super special.
Yeah.
So
it's an amazing design. I'm excited to get it photographed.
That's awesome. Yeah. When's the photos coming?
Soon. We just installed everything. The only thing with Kentucky landscape, like all of our perennials and grasses just aren't quite popping yet.
Yeah.
So whenever our grasses start getting the little plumes on them, everything kind of like starts coming alive and fills in.
Yeah.
The way I design, I typically am more perennial heavy. I like more of a West Coast look with the grasses and things. And I do anchor in some of the evergreens, but a lot of what I use are perennials. And unfortunately, that means photographs I have about 3 projects. Probably end of May is when I'm going to be able to take photos of all of them when everything's just more expressive.
Right. I didn't even think about that with it being landscape. For me, the hardest part is getting the photographs when the space is still like pristine enough, but lived in enough that, there's just this very, very short window where it's like, well, now they live in it, so we can't really photograph it and too early and it looks non-human because people haven't lived in it yet.
Yeah.
So you have just the weather to also contend with. And all
we do. Yeah. And then before photographs, we're out there like hand picking leaves and weeds and stuff. So
nature.
Yes. Nature.
Yes. So have you always has design always been in your future? Like when you were growing up, was it design?
Yeah, pretty much. As a kid, I really enjoyed interior design, but I grew up on a horse farm.
Okay.
I showed horses competitively, doing like jumping and dressage and things like that. And so I've always been outside.
Okay.
And as I got older, I knew I loved art and just, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I still am trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up. But yeah, design was always, I knew it was a part of it, but I wasn't quite sure. And I learned about landscape design. I'm like, well, what's that? I didn't learn that in school, in high school, and was able to move into a career path where I got my bachelor's in art and design with a minor in horticulture.
Yeah.
And I always knew that it wasn't going to be like my final landing point. And so just now in my career, I'm pivoting this year to exterior styling.
Okay.
My future goal is to be able to do the styling for hospitality, like boutique hotels, restaurants, commercial and residential. So I've gotten 2 exterior styling jobs this year.
Okay.
I'm super excited about it because it kind of takes my childhood dream of interior design.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then my love of outside and kind of marries the two. It's super niche.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I kind of label myself as an interior designer for the exterior. So I'm really hoping that kind of expands.
Okay.
Because it's something I'm really passionate about and it feels aligned for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that childhood kind of like playfulness, like my little me is just like, oh, so exciting.
So did you go to UK when you?
I went to EKU.
Oh, EKU?
I did, yeah. And that's where I got my bachelor's. And I was actually set course to transfer to UK to get my master's in landscape architecture.
Okay.
And I ended up getting a job offer from a company in Florida. And I was like, meh. So I went to Florida.
The job is nice.
It was really nice. I worked it was called Tradition. It was basically like Norton Commons. It's what Norton Commons was modeled after. It was down in Port St. Lucie, and I was their enhancement designer. So anytime like there was a Publix within that community that opened, I designed the entryways and things like that. Anytime schools went new roundabouts, I did all of the designs for that.
Okay. How that sounds like a little bit more urban than where you landed. Is that right? Or
yes.
Yeah.
It was more commercial. One of my other accounts was the city of Stewart, which is down in near Port St. Lucie, Treasure Coast area. And I did like the medians, different government buildings and things like that. And I liked it. With Tradition, there was some residential properties in there as well.
Right.
That we would do new builds and things, but a lot of it were entryways and commercial buildings.
Okay.
So, yeah, now I'm typically just residential.
Yeah. So what was that transition like coming from like the urban? Was the transition simultaneous with moving back to Kentucky, or was that something that started down there and then you just continued when you got back?
No, when I was down there, it was all commercial. And then when I moved back up here, it was to be closer to family. Just wanted my kids to grow up around their cousins and their grandparents. And when I moved here, I never thought I would be back in Kentucky. The design just didn't excite me. There weren't any like big landscape companies. I kind of couldn't really find my footing. I wasn't sure where I belonged.
Yeah.
So then I freelanced for different landscapers. Did a little bit of the stay at home. And then I actually went back to school and got my physical therapy license. I've lived 1,000 lives. That's what it feels like. Because I truly love helping people.
Yeah.
I worked downtown and a lot of the patients down there were kind of the lost, the forgotten, the underdogs. And that's just where my heart was. I wanted to help.
Yeah.
But I realized I didn't really fit in with that world. I missed designing and being creative. I tried to be creative with my exercises and things that I would do, but truly miss design.
Yeah.
So I started freelancing again. And a couple of years ago, I was like, I love that West Coast look, and it's just not here. And I'm like, I'm gonna bring that here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna start my own business and see what happens.
Okay.
So
is that when Blend was kind of the creation of Blend?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about the name Blend. How did you land on that?
It's sort of blending the interiors and the exteriors.
Okay.
Kind of just creating that human experience. Bringing humans back to nature. And even just, I feel like I'm constantly, when I'm talking to clients, I'm like, yeah, we could just like blend this here. And, this is how it goes. And I don't realize that how many times I say blend.
Yes.
And I'm like, I did a good job.
Yeah. Good choice.
That really worked out, because sometimes clients will giggle and they're like, oh, yeah, it does blend well, doesn't it?
Just keep the play on words going.
Yeah.
So you move from the urban to physical therapy, actually, and then to residential design.
Yes, that little transition phase.
Yeah. And you're actually considering kind of a move a little bit back towards commercial with the hospitality bent, but less urban, I imagine. Do you prefer kind of like the human side of living spaces as compared to like just outdoor, kind of the impacts you get in like an urban design context?
I believe as far as residential, hospitality, commercial, I gravitate more towards hospitality just because it feels more expressive and less cold. And I think if given the opportunity to do a commercial project, I'm like, well, we could do the same. We could really, I feel like commercial tends to be very cold and sterile with a lot of their furniture choices. Whenever I was going through, I have a landscape architect that actually just called me the other day.
Okay.
She's working on a commercial and a multifamily residential project.
Okay.
And she was like, are you interested in doing, the exterior styling?
Okay.
And I was like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
I think to me, it initially feels a little dry or sterile or void of any sort of personality. And I'm like, oh, but then that's a chance where I could see if we could change that.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to follow what it's always been.
Right.
So I'm excited to kind of see how expressive that we can get with some of these spaces that are typically pretty blah.
Yeah. I feel like I'd be interested what your thoughts would be on how you're kind of growing up in horse country. I feel like you sort of lived in a lot of different contexts from, Lexington to EKU to Florida in the commercial environment to Louisville, more downtown with the physical therapy, and now with more sort of high-end estate properties. In my mind, I'm imagining that your upbringing in horses is the thread that pulls all of that together, the being outdoors. How do you feel like that upbringing has impacted your approach to design?
I think I spent most of my time outside barefoot.
Yes.
I would ride my horses bareback, without my mom's permission.
Just sneak out there and do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, I feel like I was a little more sensitive and loved the outside. I loved touching things. From the horses, everything is tactile when you're outside.
Yeah.
You're just constantly touching things.
Yeah.
And I just always felt drawn to things that felt real, authentic. And that sort of pulled me. Any of my subs, anybody that I work with or freelance, they know how much I will fight to have natural material versus man-made.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to me just really feeling connected and grounded to nature.
Yeah.
And things being very sensory, very tactile and dynamic.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm gravitated towards in how I design and the materials that I use.
Right.
I think natural materials are imperfect. And that's the beauty of them.
Yeah.
Nothing is the same. They're quirky, they're interesting, they're cut certain ways. And it's similar to humans. When a human is real and authentic, we're gravitated towards them. It's just you feel a connection.
Yeah.
And man-made materials, not to demonize them, they're great and,
necessary.
In balance.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they can be very cold and sterile. They're all the same. They mimic something.
Yeah.
And it's like if you walk in and you're like, it feels like it's trying too hard to be something. And it doesn't really let your nervous system relax. Like you're trying to figure it out almost.
Yeah.
I feel like with nature or natural materials, it's all these little tiny details that just sort of like let your mind and your nervous system relax, because we've been around these materials since the beginning of time.
Right.
It's what humans kind of feel safe with.
Yeah.
And man-made materials just, it's the busyness of everything in life kind of feels artificial sometimes, where we're kind of moving towards. And natural materials just kind of feel like they're connecting us back to where we're supposed to be and just giving us a safe place to rest.
Yeah. What in your experience is like, as we think through, the difference of going outside and that feeling and that experience, what is it that man-made materials cuts us off from in that experience, that you're sort of trying to protect your clients from experiencing that like severing of their relationship with the outdoor space with man-made materials? Like, do you feel like it's just because our nervous systems recognizes that there's something off, or do you feel like there's the sort of the perfection of it just imbalances us, that we need to feel some rough edges?
I think it's both.
Yeah.
I think humans, we're smart. Our brains pick up on things that are fake, or they're just, they're not quite right. And even if we don't even think, it's subconsciously.
Yeah.
You walk into a room and you can read energy and you're like, they don't quite feel right. And you don't know why. And I think it's the same as when you walk outside, when things are real.
Yeah.
There's kind of the imperfection of it all, and there's a lot more texture, and I feel like you can just sense it.
Yeah.
And man-made, I feel like it's trying too hard. It's sometimes I walk into a space, I'm like, it feels like it's yelling at me.
Stop yelling.
Because it's usually loud and it's too aggressive.
Yeah.
It feels like it's just trying too hard. And it never quite, it misses the mark.
Yeah.
They're getting better with engineered products and things like that. But, the Trex decking system will forever be the death of me. It's like you walk onto it and it just feels like I find myself kind of going like this, where I'm like, and maybe I'm just being a punk about it because I know it's not real, but I like to look, I'm very sensitive. I like to look at the details. And even as a kid, like you're walking through and you find like a little face in a rock, or, like a little fossil, and you just want to like look at it and touch it. And you're, just kind of like always looking for different things.
Yeah.
And humans, our peripheral vision is what, as we're walking, there's a sensor that kind of calms the nervous system. And so as we're kind of walking through a space and we kind of notice these like little details, we're kind of scanning and looking, it actually helps calm our nervous system. So I feel like that's kind of what I'm always gravitated towards, and not competing with nature. We're just letting it exist. Humans are nature. We're not separate from it. And man-made materials kind of highlights that separation for me. When you're using things that we're a part of, it's basically the same thing. We're letting nature do its thing. It's just an ease, a flow. It's organic. It softens everything. And it makes us feel like we're supposed to be there. Because we are a part of nature. And when we try and make it artificial, it becomes like a separation. Like, oh, this is this, I am this. And it's like, do you belong there? So you're having to figure out, like, do I belong here? It's not real.
Yeah.
So
if you were going to come with your top 3 universal rules for anybody's backyard to feel more human, what would be your first 3 easy grab, low hanging fruit? Do this every backyard. What's kind of like your grab bag of, I would start with these 3 things first?
Always natural materials.
Yes.
Obviously, limestone, it's so abundant here.
Yeah.
And you've got even the breastfield vines are crushed limestone. So for me is natural materials. And then working with what is existing. How little of the earth can we not move?
Okay.
And we just kind of work with what's there and highlight sort of what is already existing, different views and things, and just sort of work around it. And then another one would be probably the flow of things, like softer lines. Something that we've been doing a lot of lately are creating pathways using plant material. So if we have a big open space and they want brass-filled vines as their base, well then to get from point A, like here, to a bench.
Yeah.
It's not a straight shot. It's not like a walkway.
Right.
We plant plants in a way that kind of tells you where to go.
Yeah.
So as you start, there might be plants kind of like that narrow and then they open up. They sort of like squeeze you in, you walk through, and then all of a sudden it kind of opens up and then you can go towards, a bench or a fountain or things like that. And that way it has more of an organic flow to it and it's softer to look at.
Yeah.
It's not straight lines because there are rarely, straight paths in nature and life.
Yeah.
or anywhere. So kind of that meandering and it slows you down.
Yeah.
You don't feel like you have to aggressively walk from here to there. Kind of like takes you a little bit of a roundabout path to get somewhere, and you're using plant materials as a way to shape that.
Yeah. So how do you think about that as you think about things like layout and flow? There's a certain amount of harnessing that has to happen in order to get the materials to, work. You were talking about, before we started recording, we were talking about, a space for a wedding venue, so, but whatever the space is, whether it's an outdoor cooking area or pickleball court or whatever it is, there's a certain amount of harnessing. So what are some ways that you think through, like harnessing and let it be wild, like as you balance that out?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is client preference. So we're working on an estate project right now, and you want to design the space, the exterior space that complements the architecture. You don't want to do ultra modern with a classic American colonial home. Yeah. You have to kind of figure out the balance. And so with this estate project, it's combining a lot of formal elements, repeating plants, and then figuring out spatial flow.
Yeah.
For this particular estate project, where their wedding guests are going to come and where they're going to naturally walk to the ceremony space.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out the best natural flow of where they might walk to and how we can do that doesn't feel forced. It's not like we're just putting a sidewalk randomly in the middle of their yard. So that's sort of a little bit of a challenge to make it natural, but still have the formality of the overall design aesthetic of this estate.
Right.
I think having certain elements, like a lot of times I design formal in the front and organic in the back. So like, party in the front or like business in the front, party in the back.
Bringing mullets to landscape.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
So for the entryway, it's very formal, clean, neat. And then around the facade of the home is very formal. There's a roundabout. Everything is very formal.
Yeah.
And then as we start to move towards the back, we start to kind of loosen the shape a little bit. It's not as rigid. We're using a little bit more perennials. We're shaping based on either the flow or kind of the topography. So to kind of answer your question, it really just depends. Like every project is different. Some need to be very structured and formal, and that's client preference. You know, if they want ultra modern, you know, then you design if it's, you know, something that complements the architecture and the way you can, like if something is very modern with harsh edges, we just soften it a little bit with grasses and we do restraint when it comes to the plant material.
Yeah.
You don't use like 15 different plants. If it's a modern design, then we only use maybe 1 or 2 repeating plant material.
Yeah.
And that restraint lends to the overall vision. So it just depends on, like I said, client preference. And then just if I have free reign, then I like to do a balance.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned bringing kind of like the West Coast aesthetic to Kentucky. How much of that translation is hampered by just the region,
Our zone.
just the zone and everything?
Yeah. There are plant material that we have in Zone 7 that give that West Coast look. And my wholesalers absolutely hate me. I'm like, please, can we get in some guara?
Yeah.
Because it will grow here.
Okay.
It's just not a lot of landscapers use it. It's kind of rinse, wash, and repeat. You know, the boxwoods and knockout roses and things.
Right.
You know, they get in what is typically used.
Right.
So I've been bringing in different grasses. And we actually have a lot of really cool, even native grasses and native perennials and things like that. And I try and come up with a balance because in California, it stays really cool and vibey year round.
Yeah.
Here, it gets a little like, a little sad.
Yeah.
It kind of dies.
There's nothing to be done for February around here.
No, you got to cut everyone off.
Yes.
That time, and it just looks a little dead.
Yeah.
So I still have to use some of my foundation and anchor plants, something that is going to be an evergreen, but still has a little bit of personality. I typically stay away from boxwoods. I use more, it's called an inkberry holly.
Okay.
It's a little bit looser, a little bit more expressive, a little hardier here in this area. Sometimes auto laurels that kind of are in like a bowl shape, and then they have like a dark green leaf. They get a little bit of a white plume in the spring.
Okay.
They're really cute.
Yeah.
So I try and use my anchor plants, my evergreens, with a lot of the perennials. So sometimes it's a little tough when I meet a client. They're like, I want low maintenance. I want color. And, you know, I'm like, well, with the grasses, you know, they tend to be like, ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
But I use some that are, like, I don't use the big pompous grass, you know, that you see a lot of people use around, like, electrical boxes and things. I use a lot of different small ones, some that are, like, more blue, some that have a higher profile, and they're a little bit more narrow, easier to maintain. And then if you have a good landscaper, you just call them in February and be like, hey, can you come out and get all of my guys, like, a little haircut?
Yeah.
And then you're good.
Yeah.
And then they grow back.
Yeah.
So it's really, I mean, there is no such thing as like no maintenance landscaping. So that's been kind of the biggest challenge to get people on board. But all the plants that I use are appropriate for Zone 7. And it's tough because our climate is changing. So some winters that we've had have just like toasted, even the boxwoods, the laurels, everything, they get that winter burn. It dries them out. But for the most part, you know, like you just talk to the wholesalers, you kind of see in your experience how the environment's changing, and like, oh, this plant used to be, you know, like thriving here, and now it's a little too cold. So then we just sort of we ask the wholesalers, is there another variety, something that's similar to this that might be a little more cold tolerant?
Yeah.
So.
I can see that. And in my line of work, it's more like if we try to get too much into high performance building, like the concepts are great, but it does just require like more of like knowledge from the homeowner to understand like how those systems interact. And so it's like a complication that gets introduced. That's like another thing to think through as far as like how much do we lean that way. And I can imagine with landscaping it being the same way of like, we could do amazing, but we want it to look good for years and not just like the first season.
Yes.
And then by next season, it's like just rip it out and I can't keep up with it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So how often do you find yourself like tailoring your designs around the maintenance requirements?
It depends on the client.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they have someone that already comes and maintains that will weed or mulch, then I just say like have your guy come out. And really with the perennials, it's just in February coming in and cutting them all down.
Right.
So that the new growth can come up in the spring. So from like February to April, it's a little sparse.
Yeah.
And then everything kind of flourishes again. So it's really, like I said, it's not a lot of maintenance. Everything has maintenance.
Yeah.
And if you don't use a designer and you have someone come in and they plant a lot of stuff that's cute when it's little, and then it grows up to be like 10-foot bush. I see that all the time where like plants are just eating the house. They're planted too close.
Right.
They just, they're not thinking ahead.
Yeah.
And whenever I design, I will look 5 years ahead. How big is this going to be? What is their overall vision? And then plant appropriately.
Right.
For that.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to like start getting like a monster.
Yeah. I think that's so important because like, having that future picture, I think so many people are so focused on like right now, and what we build doesn't really involve the living thing. We don't have to worry about what is going to change in 5 years.
Right.
But I do always tell our clients like we need to slow down in the design phase because we don't want to miss something that would set us up for success 5 years from now that could easily be implemented now, but that'd be a huge pain in the butt later. And so like you said, just the value of having that in the front end to holistically think through, not just like, hey, this is slightly irritating. I want a spot of green in front of my house, but like, how's that going to impact? So I'm sure you have put a whole lot of thought into, it's not uncommon for people to build their homes or to renovate or do an addition and put almost no thought whatsoever into any sort of landscape design. Twofold question. First of all is, why do you think that is when we all love the outdoors? Like, who doesn't want a picnic on the back porch, and like who doesn't want to live outside with their friends? So why don't we elevate that when we're building? And then secondly, like how have you encouraged people to think about it in a different way to understand that their outdoor space is still their space? Like it's still their home. It's not just the living room where you watch TV as your home, but it's like the inside and the outside. So whichever way you want to attack those two, but I'd love to hear what your perspective is doing the work that you've been doing.
Yeah, well, that's been a challenge.
Yeah.
I don't think I have an answer because it's been something that, as clients are building a home, a lot of times the budget gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And so when it comes time to do the exterior, well, let's just throw a couple boxes out there and call it good. And then they're like, a few years down the road, then they come back in and add, their pool or outdoor living space.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, like, I want to network and educate, like, architects, builders, and things like that to bring me in early on the process so that we can start thinking about the exteriors. How do we blend the interior and the exterior? Is it larger overhangs, accordion-style doors? As you walk out, are we using the same material from the interior to the exterior? Things like that where it becomes an extension.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it is an afterthought when it should be one and the same, because we want to be spending so much time outside. And when you go out, it should just feel like an extension of the home. It should feel like another room. And so, that's something that is a constant challenge when people bring me in at the very end and I'm like, well, we could have done this.
Yeah.
This would have been cool to do. Like, now it's kind of, the architecture is already like the building is already built
Yeah.
for the home. And it's like, well, it would have been cool if we could have done this in the process rather than later on adding a covered porch or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a challenge.
Right. Just understand. So let's say I'm a home builder. Explain to me why I'm going to be missing out on something if I miss this step of my design process.
The exterior?
Yeah, like what do I miss if I just go straight from, I met with a draftsman. He's got me in my house plans. I'm going to go build it. But I forgot to think about my outdoors. What am I missing?
You're missing a whole other experience.
Yeah.
The whole outside, it's where you might have family gatherings and things. And if you build the structure, it's a lot more expensive to start adding on to it. If you don't do any like covered area or anything like that, you're going to have to like go back.
Yeah.
And then kind of figure out how it can be pieced together. You don't want it to look hodgepodgey.
Right.
That's the thing. When people bring me in, they've got someone kind of working on maybe some of the outside, different areas. There's a lot of like different hands in it. And it looks like it's been designed by several different people.
Yeah.
And so it just brings a cohesion to the whole space. It makes it more unified.
Right.
Where it's a seamless transition from the interior to the outside, where you're not walking out and it feels busy, it feels disconnected.
Right.
And like disheveled, you're walking out and you're like, oh, like there's 12 different types of hardstone, or there's, this area doesn't really connect to that because it was an afterthought.
Right.
And then we couldn't change it because this was already here. A lot of times the builder will pour, maybe an outdoor patio right in the middle or something. And it's like, well, if we would have just put it over here, that would have flowed a lot better.
Right.
And I think it would, just help the architecture. The exterior, the landscaping is not trying to compete with the architecture. It just needs to complement it.
Right.
And so I think as a builder or an architect, it can really highlight what was already created rather than kind of taking away from it. And then if you have someone come in that is just sort of like, adding big things that doesn't feel cohesive or it doesn't complement anything, it can take away from what that person has created. Right. The overall vision. Yeah. It's like it's competing with it and it kind of lessens this. Yeah. So I think architects and builders would want that to where it like almost makes their project and everything just, that much more elevated.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I'm so passionate. I'm always telling our clients two things. First is like, let's go for a 10 out of 10. Like, let's just make that the conversation. And then like, let's design for a 10. When we go to execution, we can talk about phasing it out. We can talk about doing a section now and a section later.
Phasing.
Yeah, but then, and also just like think holistically, like because no project is detached from everything else. And so I think, in my experience, clients are somewhat resistant to doing a 10 out of 10 or thinking holistically because the number gets bigger. And it's like, it does, but we don't have to do it all right now.
Yes.
But doing all the design work right now sets you up for success in ways that like you can't even imagine. And you can't go back and undo it. Like if it's an addition or a new build, there's going to be site work going on. That's the time to, know where the site work is going to go 10 years from now or 5 years from now or 3 years from now.
Exactly. Even for, electrical or anything, as you're building. One of the things that I try and educate my clients on are the phases. Like, okay, if you don't want to do all of it right now, let's come up with a 5-year plan. Yeah. That way we have a master plan. We know where different elements are going to go. We know where we need to run utilities and things like that. There's no surprises. Yeah. Because if you start adding here, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I want this. Okay, well, we got to tear up some of this now.
Right. Yeah.
And then it's costing you more money and it's just more of a headache, more time. Yeah. It's not seamless. So if you come up with a master plan, we already know as we're building, we're phasing things out. Yeah. We already know where we're needing to run irrigation, where everything, plant material, we're not digging up stuff. Right. We're just seamlessly adding to it.
Yeah. And I think you just like when you're in a space that's been holistically designed, where it's not a space that was designed and then another space that was designed that there's a hallway that connects the two, but it's actually like holistically designed, you feel the difference. You may not even know why you feel the difference, but it just feels different.
Exactly.
If you've ever been in a house where it's like they got a kitchen remodel and then they had a different designer come do their living room or something like that, you just you pick up on like something's, it's just different,
Yeah.
And I think that is something that, maybe clients undervalue sometimes, is the experience of living in a space that's kind of going back to when you're talking about man-made versus natural, of like, you always be on edge. Something feels always just slightly disconnected.
Yes.
And that's something that like, I feel like design gives you the chance to get right. So take the ticket.
Yes.
Use that.
Yeah. It's the spatial flow. Humans kind of take the path of least resistance, but if it's chopped up, and you're not really quite sure where to go or why it feels off, and you're like constantly pausing to be like, you're like side-eyeing things. It throws at the whole energy of the space and the flow off.
Yeah. Well, I always ask our guests this, and sometimes people are like, I can't answer that. And people are like, I know exactly. Who is your ideal client at this moment with where your company's at, where you're headed? Like, who's your next ideal client?
Ideal, like shooting for the stars. Well, we already kind of touched on it, where I am definitely wanting to move into exterior styling, creative direction, things like that. My ideal client would be collaborating with an interior designer or an architect, landscape architect, for either like a boutique hotel, a resort, like a remote project. Like, I want to do a resort in Bali.
Yeah.
I want to design that.
Lifetime membership, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I think, I love other places outside the U.S. or resorts and things like that kind of lends to the natural materials, a lot of teak and stone and things like that.
Yeah.
And the unique like craftsmanship.
Yeah.
More like one-off pieces that feel like art.
Yeah.
And so to be able to design a space, like I said, for a hotel or a resort, that would be cool.
Top shelf.
Yeah.
And so what is the best way for people to follow along as you grow and on your journey? Is there a single channel, or do you have multiple channels that do different things, or where do people follow you or find you?
I'm actually word of mouth, mostly here.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just joined that platform, Tald, and it's an amazing platform.
Okay.
The owners have been just fantastic. And that's where more high-end clients come to this platform from all over, looking for designers and architects.
Okay.
And since my goal is to get more remote projects, that's where I'm hoping that expansion will come from.
Okay.
I have social media. I'm not the best at it. I do want to start doing more educational videos and design point of views, but I'm terrified of video.
Yeah.
So maybe this will help me kind of get past that.
This will be your kickstart.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really trying to be more interactive, or I want to be more interactive on social media, but most people kind of follow along either my personal or business for like kind of a more behind the scenes, like when I'm drawing and things like that, kind of what I'm cooking up there. But yeah, I'm hoping more people will kind of find me through that platform.
Okay. And then what is that platform?
Tald.
Okay.
TALD.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping that will reach more of that remote.
Okay.
So I've got Indiana and Connecticut styling jobs so far. And so I'm hoping that, I get some down in Florida where my heart is and, just kind of keep expanding.
Okay. So as Tald, is it sort of like House 2.0, or how would you describe Tald?
Yeah, it's very similar.
Okay.
They have designers on there, designer profiles, and that way the client can go onto the profile and really kind of match their personality, their aesthetics. They kind of get a feel for that designer and they kind of see like, oh, we sort of match, and they're all listed there. You don't have to do like a Google search engine to like find everyone in your area. You just get on there, and most everyone on there is looking for remote projects. So it doesn't matter where you are in the US. If you're like, oh, I like their aesthetic, you know that they can bring that vision to life.
That's awesome. what a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And I know a couple different designers locally here that have,
Mhm.
it seems like it's worked really well for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, we have a lot of really cool designers here.
yeah.
I really hope that Louisville can embrace designers and see their value.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've met some amazing designers here, and I hope that we, as designers, the design community, like keep pushing the envelope and not staying safe.
Yeah.
And not staying in a box that Louisville kind of puts us in.
Yeah.
We're the alchemist. We grab all these cool things that we see from all over the world.
Yeah.
And we bring them here and we share them with
Yeah.
our clients.
Yeah. And ultimately then we get to join in our clients experiencing something they wouldn't have had access to otherwise.
Exactly.
Because it's grabbing those things, but then it's being able to curate them in a way that client specifically benefits from and gets tailored to. And that's what I love about what we do. So
yeah,
I don't think I could think of a better way to wrap the episode up than I feel like that was a fantastic.
We just put a bow on it.
You just put a bow on it. So thank you so much for being on.
Yeah,
and
thank
look forward to
you.
having you back.
Awesome.